Sunday, the 24th of August, 1893. 10 o'clock. Miss Charlotte came again to me today. There seemed to be something on her mind, so I insisted that we talked rather than ignore our feelings behind instruments of music. She told me that she would prefer having a cup of tea before opening up her mouth, and so I readied her a glass without any hesitation.
So, now you know I have an older brother.
Charlotte began.
You are also aware that I lost my mare at a young age. Well, I had an older sister as well. The Dunkelheights used to be a family of 5.
Had?
They both threw themselves off a bridge, exactly a year apart. My sister Heidi did it first, and then my mare wanted to join her.
So, if I am understanding this correctly, they killed themselves. Charlotte almost angrily huffed with a deep breath.
Everyone says that. Everyone says that my mare and my sister killed themselves. Well, they are all wrong. My mare and sister were killed by my Vater. You don't need to physically murder someone to be their killer. He might as well have pushed them off the bridge himself. Besides, we all know that he wanted both of them gone. But what's worse about that is that I love the man that I not only accused, but murdered my mare and sister. And I end up hating myself for my love, instead of hating him for his morbid faults. I know how terrible he is, how vile and dastardly his actions become, and yet I care so deeply for him, stay so loyal to him, that I take on his blame. I know it's all his fault, I truly do, but because he will never apologise, I feel it is my place to do that for him, so that these people he hurt can at least hear a fraction of what they deserve to hear. It's not enough, but it's more than what he'd give. All I can do is try to keep a balance, make up for what he lacks. To believe there is light in the darkness, we must try our best to shine for those stuck in shadows.
I was not sure how to respond. I was not expecting such an outburst, but surely this was not something that this striking woman got to talk about often. So the best I could do was at least listen, and let her know that she was heard. Your father has done terrible things.
It's a hard topic.
I can imagine. If you think he was terrible enough to drive them to suicide, and yet you feel so close to him. She looked around rather nervously before she began and said,
I'm not exactly sure what happened. I remembered for the first 5 years of my life we barely acknowledged each other. But I was always curious about knowing this man that was supposed to be my Vater. I knew very little about him, and he about me. All I knew is that he was married to my mare, and he birthed me and provided for all my needs. We interacted time to time, but it was usually me who instigated it. But then, one day, a little before my big sister dies, my Vater seems to take notice of my existence, and I decided that I should attempt opening up to him, especially since my mare became distant from us and the world after the death. Though, before that, she seemed rather keen on keeping us separated. I never knew why at the time. Suddenly I fell in love with this man, for he was the only one who listened to me and gave me what I wanted, as I love to be spoiled and still do. I showed him the affection my mare taught me, and so he reciprocated. There was something about his mystery and charm that I came to love, and I always liked being around him and had the urge to make him feel happy and appeased, just like how I felt. I began to realise what he did to people, but I became so enraptured with him and how he treated me, I couldn't imagine a life outside of it, nor did I wish for one.
She sighed and placed her face in her palms.
It's wrong. I know. It's rather... and I hope you pardon my language for this, but it is rather fucked.
She nearly chuckled her last word, and then nervously bit her lip.
I do truly love my Vater, and I'm still trying to figure out if there is anything truly good in him that deserves that love. But I feel it, whether or not I want to. So I act upon it. Besides, I'm quite comfortable in my position in his house. I'm content as his secretary. It's an occupation that I've gladly accepted and will continue.
Are you trying to convince me? Or yourself that...
I'm not trying to convince anyone, it's simply the truth. I'm always told that I should be a performer, but why should I? Why should I put myself on a stage?
Because you enjoy it. Because someone might need to hear you.
Do you need to hear me?
I was so flustered and lost in her voice. My lip quivered and hands trembled. My voice was so faint, but I just barely heard from my lips. Yes, she extended her hand to me and took a hold of mine.
My voice is mine. No one else is allowed to hear it unless they be my vocal tutor. But I want it to be yours too.
My eyes were fixated on her, and my ears eager in anticipation of what I was about to behold. Charlotte began to sing to me, and whilst I was listening to her, and losing my heart and soul in every note, her words, the lyrics, were lost to my ears. I could only hear her and feel her song. I almost felt as though I should be accompanying with an instrument, but I couldn't bring myself to do anything but listen. I closed my eyes to try and focus. I never knew she had such a lovely singing voice.